It's time once again for the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us, along with Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome again to the program.
Thank you.
We kick off 2017 with a 27-minute meeting, so we'll have a recap of that meeting, which is a lot of formal information for the beginning of the year, and also quite a few recaps about what's going on around town, and some nice moments in the council meeting as well that you're going to hear about. So let's begin with the council meeting again. First of the year, you have just a lot of regular yearly business to take care of. Tell us about that, how this is kind of an organizational meeting.
Yeah, so we, first meeting of the year is always kind of setting the different, we run through some board and commission reappointments, decide, which council members will serve as liaisons to the various committees, who from staff and the council will represent the city on various organizations. So, setting our depositories for city accounts, city attorney, those kinds of things. So pretty organizational business, routine business.
Right.
So much of the consent agenda included that business.
All right, and one of the things this year was swearing in of 2 council members. So
Yes.
give us a little recap of how that went for Judy and Christy.
Yeah, so election results, top vote getter was Christy Barnett. She's new to the council, new to this elected role, so she was sworn in, and so these are 4-year terms, so they'll serve through 2020. Judy Hansen was elected. As you recall, she was appointed to her seat because of a vacancy the last go around, and so was elected to this seat now, and so she'll serve a new 4-year term. So got both of them sworn into the council that evening.
Very good.
Yep.
Let's talk about some of the items under the consent agenda, and there were a number in community development, and not a lot of discussion, but we just wanted to give you an update of some projects you probably have heard us talk about before.
Yep.
Give us a quick look at some that are moving through the process.
Yeah, so these were kind of the final steps, or kind of leading up to the final steps, the resolutions that came back to approve projects that have been in front of the council previously and in front of the Planning Commission. So Hy-Vee North, one of them, this is the project right off of Maple Grove Parkway 610, the new kind of highway frontage there across the street from Target. This project, a little bit more difficult of a site. We are dealing with there were some wetlands on the site, some older wetlands. The area had been farmed historically, so the quality of the wetlands was generally pretty low, but certainly some challenges there in terms of the soils. And then some pretty good tree coverage on the site. And so we worked through some replacement. I decided to work with the developer to get cash in lieu of replacement of some of the trees and take those dollars and replace the trees in other areas of the city where they would thrive probably better.
Sure.
But this Hy-Vee project is moving forward. So on the consent agenda, it was the ordinance to rezone the property, and then the resolution approving the PUD development stage plan. The last piece of this would be to come back is just the development agreement, but the development agreement would be consistent then with the resolution that came forward approving the project. But so this one, that's kind of the final approval, but for the development agreement, which is kind of routine business. This one we anticipate probably some activity in the spring. So we'll work through those development agreement components over the winter here, and then we'll see what happens in the spring if they start moving some dirt around out there.
And on the Hy-Vee topic, we probably should talk about South Hy-Vee. Any word there? Have any further discussions been happening related to a time schedule or possibility of that moving ahead?
We haven't received a firm date from that. What we've heard from the Hy-Vee folks is it's not in their, they typically don't buy real estate, get projects approved and sit. So, and they do have some time frames that they have to deal with in terms of getting going out there. But, we would hope to see activity on that site next year as well.
Okay. Very good.
Yep, or in the spring, summer.
Very good. A few others then that went through the process at the last meeting. Schuler Shoes, I know, is another one that's been moving ahead.
Yeah, that's just kind of north of the fountains, just east of the Kelly Dorn project, the village at Arbor Lakes. 2-story office building there. This will be sort of the headquarters for Schuler Shoes, their office headquarters, and then a retail storefront there. So they'd be moving off Main Street over to that location. So again, same situation, dealing with the rezoning and the PUD approval. This one will come back with the development agreement, but it'll reflect that resolution that came forward. So this is kind of one of the final steps on that one. The other one is the woods at Rush Creek. This is the residential project just south of the golf course, Rush Creek Golf Course, north of Lord of Life Church, kind of that pocket in there. about 70 some units of single-family homes. This again was an area that there were some wetland and tree concerns. The developer worked to try to kind of lay in the roads so that they reduce the impacts to the wetlands and the trees and can provide for some custom graded lots out there. Very nice development. So likely see that one coming forward in the summer as well.
All right, so that's a quick update on some of the things that are moving ahead as far as development goes. Let's move ahead to special business. And there was a good group of people in the audience at the meeting because there were some firefighters retiring.
Yep.
Tell us about the two that are retiring.
Yes, so both Kurt Roberts and Randy Mueller retired from the fire department, and they've retired kind of over the fall and into the early winter here, and then we just try to schedule that to have them come forward at some point following their retirement. And the practice is to present them with their helmet and, of course, thank them for their long service to the city. Combined, they had about 49 years of service.
Wow.
So this is a lot of experience and service walking out the door. And we noted that night that we are bringing on 11 new firefighters from our most recent recruitment, which is great.
Yes.
We've had kind of a hard time. We run about 90 paid-on-call firefighters for the city, and we've had a hard time kind of keeping it that number. You know, I think the challenge is finding folks that have the time and the ability to commit to being available for fire service response.
Right.
But we're really excited with the 11 that we're bringing on board, and you know, we'll probably continue to see a few retirements as we go forward, because we do have a lot of really long-serving firefighters, and just a nice opportunity to thank them for their service and honor that.
Congratulations to Kurt and
Yep.
Randy.
Yep.
Other item under special business was some comments by the council, and this is a yearly tradition as well
Yeah.
at the first meeting of the year. And there were a couple common themes. Tell us about some of those from the council members.
Yeah, I think everybody has a very forward-looking, thought process about where we are as a city. A couple of things that I think are driving that is our comp plan updates. So we're really focused right now on looking at the future growth of the community, really the build-out of Maple Grove, which will probably happen over the next 20 to 30 years here, whether it's in the 610 corridor in the northwest quadrant of the city or in the gravel mining area.
Right.
So we're taking a look at the land use plans for both of those areas. We have a couple pockets down in the southwest corner that'll mainly be residential. We're going to take a look at those as well.
Okay.
But it really sort of casts the future vision for the city, and so I think everybody's eyes are kind of focused in that fashion. In addition, just with some of the economic development efforts we've rolled out in the past year, I think people are focused on the growth and how do we do this right? How do we finish this out? And so I think I think that seems to be the focus for the years ahead. A lot of good comments about how the council works together. Compliments to the staff. We have a great staff team at Maple Grove, and they do good work. Our goal is always to make things easy for the council and provide them good information to make good decisions, and I think our staff does a great job of that. So yeah, a lot of really, really nice reflections at the beginning of the year.
All right, let's move ahead to a couple of the updates then. Not much from Ken Ashfield this time, talking about 169. So for people that, it's not in Maple Grove, so
No.
you're okay there, but if you drive way south, there's going to be some work there, so keep your eye on 169. And then you talked a little bit about the beginning of the legislative session, and
Yep.
you've had some meetings recently with groups that discuss things with the legislature. Tell us
Yep.
about that connection with the city and some of those workings.
Yeah, so we're kind of coming into the season of legislative breakfasts where
Yeah.
organizations host an event and try to get as many legislators there as they can to listen to what the issues are that cities are facing. So in the next couple weeks here, we have the I-94 Coalition Breakfast. This is a new organization
Right.
that the city has recently joined. The focus of this organization is really to try to build capacity and improve 94 between Maple Grove and St. Cloud. With this connection of 610, we felt it was important at this point to kind of increase our focus on 94. We've heard now anecdotally that with the 610 connection, it's somewhat increased congestion out on 94 as you go
Sure.
westbound. And I think we anticipated some of that, but I think it's maybe a little bit greater than folks were thinking it was going to be. In addition, Fish Lake Split. We've got 494 done, 694 done. you've got the 610 connection, and now it's really about what's the capacity all the way, kind of from Rogers to Maple Grove,
Sure.
and how people move through the Fish Lake split. So we felt that it was important that we kind of jump on with the 94 coalition and see if we can't bring a little bit more energy there and focus on the 94 corridor.
Very good.
Yep.
State of the City's coming up with the North Hennepin Area Chamber. That comes up in January.
Yep.
And then also the Municipal Legislative Commission, another group you're involved in?
Yeah, this is an organization that represents kind of larger suburbs, so the likes of Eden Prairie, Woodbury, Edina, Bloomington, Maple Grove, Plymouth, kind of some of those suburbs that tend to be contributors to the fiscal disparities program,
Right.
and not beneficiaries of local government aid. And so little bit different focus for these cities in terms of wanting to make sure that those dollars are allocated properly and spent on things that are truly needs for cities, because we are contributors to many of those programs. But this is an organization that represents kind of the bigger suburbs interests in the metro area.
All right, so we'll have some updates on some of those meetings as we move ahead. Speaking of meetings, the next meeting for the council is on a Tuesday because of the holiday, so it'll be Tuesday, January 17th, and you have a couple big topics at that meeting. Give us a little preview of that.
Yeah, so this last fall, we talked a lot throughout the fall months about the community survey, which we were out. We did it both in a mail survey, so kind of that scientifically significant or statistically significant data that we did, the mail survey, and then we also did an online version for folks that may not have received the mail version. We've got the preliminary results back from the survey company. They're going to be with us on January 17th. The company's out of Denver, actually, out of Colorado, and so they come to town and they're going to meet a couple different times throughout the day. We're going to have a staff level discussion, and of course the Citizens Advisory Committee, the CAC, was very involved in kind of reviewing the questions and getting the survey going. So there will be time for the CAC to meet with the company, and then that evening they'll be presenting at the City Council meeting. But in general, pretty positive results coming out of that survey. Most categories seeing improvement, and so I think it's good news, but it'll be fun to have them in front of the council and get that information shared with the community.
And then the other event happening on the 17th is the legislators come to town, so tell us about that opportunity to hear from those that are heading to the Capitol.
Yeah, so they're back in session. In fact, I was at the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce legislative session priorities event last night down in St. Paul, and our legislators, of course, were there. So they're back. They're back at it. We have them scheduled to come in on the 17th and provide us kind of an update and of the work that they're involved in. Some of them have some changes about their role down there this year because of the Senate, Republican control in the Senate, and some shifts in the House as well. And so get a little update from Senator Limmer and Representative Smith and Representative Pepin about their focus for the session, what their predictions are. So be good to have them in-house and get an update. Yes.
All right, and again, we'll tell you about that meeting date as we get to the end of this program. So that's a recap of the most recent council meeting. Let's move ahead to some other items happening around town, and there are quite a few to touch on. The first one, unfortunately, a sad note, longtime Maple Grove resident passed away. You might remember the name Don Kish. Tell us a little bit about what Don meant to the city of Maple Grove.
Yeah, and me being a newcomer, I fortunately had the opportunity to get to know Don through the Rotary Club, which he was a charter member of the Maple Grove Rotary Club. So that was fun, and Don was always, I know he was a frequent viewer of this show.
Very good.
Because he would say, now I saw you on the show and I heard you say this. What did you mean about that? And so we would have conversations on those Tuesday mornings at Rotary about the various things going on in the city. But, I actually had the opportunity to go to his funeral yesterday. It was a packed house, and I think he was referred to as Mr. Maple Grove, and long history. Grew up here, lived on a farm, built 2 homes here on the homestead. A local businessman, and just a real. Persistent commitment was what they talked about, is that he was involved in things, the Lions Club, the church, the Rotary Club. He always gave back to the community and showed up. And I think in that year, I don't know that he missed a Rotary meeting. In fact, he was at the meeting up until the middle of December. So sad to see Don's life, end. He was 80 years old, but boy, what a legacy he's left for the community. So
You bet.
it was a nice celebration of his life yesterday. And as the family walked out, the music the organ player played was "Roll Out the Barrel."
Okay.
And I was sitting there with Councilmember Leith, and I said, "Is that Roll Out the Barrel?" And it was just, it was fun. So a nice celebration of Don's
Probably
life
how
yesterday.
Don would have wanted it.
How
with
Don
that
would have
type
wanted
of a song.
it. Yes.
Exactly. He
Yes.
will be missed.
He will be.
You mentioned earlier the focus on business, and
Yeah.
one of the programs that has been put in place to help with that is Open to Business.
Yes.
Give us a little update for people that haven't heard, or maybe a little idea of how it's going so far.
Yeah, so this is our efforts around small economic development, really trying to get to those entrepreneurs in our community, whether they live here or they own a business here, or thinking about owning a business here. So our first day we're open to business will be available at City Hall is January 10th, and amazingly, I think the day is almost full already.
Excellent.
Rob Schmoland is the gentleman that folks will be meeting with. He just has been very impressed by the response that we've gotten. We've really tried to get the word out in terms of our social media efforts. You and I have talked about it here. So we're really encouraging people to reach out, but so far, really great response. So we're excited about that.
Excellent. So hours at the Community Center the second Tuesday of the month from 10 a.m. to 1. It is by appointment, so you can go to the website to find out more, and it is free. So that is
free.
Great news of all. We mentioned the council meeting will not happen on the 16th, and just a note that city offices will be closed that day in observance of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. So keep that on your schedule. Photo contest. It's time to start thinking about it again. This is a great effort in the city of Maple Grove. Give us a preview of what's coming up.
Yeah, so we do one in the summer. This is the opportunity to capture all those winter scenes. And if you follow along with the city website or our social media efforts, any of our publications, we really do try to use these pictures to represent actual life in Maple Grove, because it is, so rich in terms of its beauty and the people that live here. So we encourage people to get out their cameras this winter and capture some great shots. Particularly at the skate loop and the Elm Creek Park Reserve, kind of those places where people get out to play. We're looking for some things from there. So information on the website about the photo contest during these winter months.
And maybe a photo or two to be taken at the outdoor ice rinks, because they are open here. So the ice is good now?
Yeah. Well, with this weather this morning.
It's really good now.
Really good this morning. It's very cold today. So ice skating rinks, the outdoor ones, will be open until the weather doesn't allow it anymore. We typically, I think the season usually gets into February, and then it starts to get, those afternoons get a little warm and the sun gets a little high, and it's hard to keep up, and we'll see the grass poking through, and then it's kind of over. But for now, for the foreseeable future, I think we're in business.
All right, get out there and skate. And again, city's website has all of the park information there as well. We've talked a few times about utility billing, and just give us an update there. This is getting closer and closer. What should people be ready for?
Yeah, so as you get your new utility bill, you might notice there's some information in there, and good to take a look at that. We've implemented a new bill payment system, so sort of an online service where, unfortunately, customers have to kind of go back in and re-sign up for the new system. We're not able to just transfer that information. A lot of this has to do with credit card security, because that information can't live on our servers. You kind of have to have a third-party vendor that deals with the security of that information.
All right.
And so this helps us with that. So just information on our website, but also when you get your utility bill, you'll see some information there about how to go about doing that. Any issues, give a call to City Hall. I know our utility billing staff has been busy with folks on the phone, and that's what they're there for. So encourage people to make sure they get signed up for the new system.
And I'm sure they know all the answers now after a few calls, right? They're ready for anything. Mark January 12th on your calendar is the next date for the next indoor market. And again, remind people of what they might find there. Yeah,
so January 12th, the next indoor market, and then we get into the winter schedule, the second Thursday of the month. January through May. And so we have vendors every week that have even some produce type things throughout the winter months, but meat, cheese, eggs, breads, baked goods, and then of course there's live music and free recipes, and the Shopper Reward program continues through the winter months as well.
Yeah, great opportunity to get inside someplace warm and just hang out for a while and enjoy it, and maybe purchase a few things. We talked earlier about the firefighters and some of the recruitment there. We want to also talk about the police reserves. Tell us about the search for maybe some help in that area.
Yeah, so we're out looking for new police reserve officers, and just as a kind of some insight to this program, these are folks that serve as volunteers in the police department. So they help us during special events, celebrations, various activities with traffic control, and sometimes even if we would have some sort of a significant storm come through or disaster in the community, they would help us out there as well. You have to be 18 years of age, and there is a little bit of a process, interview and background check, whatnot. But the application is on our website, and the deadline to apply is January 15th. But it is a great opportunity to get to know a little bit more about law enforcement and then give back to the community as well.
And I think a lot of people think at times that it's just for younger people. So you say you have to be 18, so they think, okay, someone going into the career might be perfect. But actually, I've seen many older adults involved in this and really get a lot out of it. So you're looking for adults as well who, again, might have some spare time to help out in this area.
Yeah, and it's just it's a neat way to kind of you know, give back to the community, but in a way that allows you to be kind of part of the law enforcement team or public safety of the city, gives you insight into what our officers deal with, what our fire department deals with when responding to emergencies. So it's kind of like a higher level of volunteer work, but it does require some extra commitment as well, but pretty fun opportunity.
All right, again, the deadline is January 15th, so make sure you keep that on your schedule. We talked a few times on our updates about the New Year's Eve event, and we have some numbers, and it was as grand as ever. Give us the recap of New Year's Eve in Maple Grove.
So we had 782 tickets sold for that event, almost 600 ahead of time, and then about 185 or so the night of the event at the door. So saw a lot of the pictures stream through on social media from the event. Looks like everybody had a good time and nice evening to be inside. It was kind of a cool one as well. So yeah, great event at the community center. Great. Kudos to the staff for pulling that off again.
It is a big event, and mark it on your calendar certainly for next year. Last point we want to cover is the FEMA disaster registration, and we've talked about this again a few times. This relates back to the September storm that hit the area. Give us an update on how that process is going, and again, what you encourage residents to do.
Yeah, so the deadline to file a claim with FEMA is through the end of January. So we really have the balance of January here to do that. Number of ways to do that. There's a website, there's a phone number to call. They even have the office open in Brooklyn Park, where it's in where the old library was at 8600 Zane Avenue North. We do really encourage our residents to reach out. We have heard from a number of them that they've filed a claim and they've even received some benefit from that already. So we encourage people to reach out. There was some reports that somebody had heard that maybe, you know, depending on your income level, whether you would get assistance or not. The FEMA, this program isn't means tested, and so it's really just about dealing with the damage that people had on their properties. And so we really encourage people to get out and file a claim if they had damage. This is your opportunity, and that window will close at the end of January, and once that window closes, then the claims are kind of closed out for that event. So if you have damage, worth giving a call and filing a claim to see what might be, because we'd hate to have somebody get to February 1 and then be disappointed that they didn't do that. So really encourage them to do that, and all that information is located on our website as well.
All right, speaking of the website, let's give you that information real quick here and that next council meeting date in case you want to mark that on your calendar. Here is the next council meeting date. It is on Tuesday, January 17th, again because of the holiday. It is a day later, 7:30 at the Government Center. You see the website in the middle of the screen, and again, a lot of the information we gave you today is on the website. You can look at some backup information there, and certainly call the Government Center if you have any other questions, 763-494-6000, and our viewer response line, 533-1710. If you want to call with any questions or comments about the program, please do that. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.